I mean, I remember when the BLM protests began in 2020. Obviously, in the beginning, I was very supportive of those protests, but every night they would quickly devolve into riots. And I remember messaging with friends, even messaging with colleagues about being fearful because, where I live is close to, very close, like walking distance to, a main.
So, of course, Ana Kasparian was very much in favor of the BLM protests when they first started, because as a good leftist, she would be. I, for one, and I think a lot of people, right minded, right thinking people like me, probably like you, were not in favor of them. It was clear from the beginning that they were a total grift, that the whole reason for them, the George Floyd incident, was a sham and it was phony. He was not murdered by the police. He died in police custody, yes, but he died of other reasons. And so, yeah. But despite that, I mean, this interview with Ana Kasparian is about 3 months old, so right around the time of the election. She's explaining why she left the left, and she mentions BLM, of course. She's talking to a couple leftists here, guys I don't know, Lee Fang podcast, no idea what that is, but at least she is talking to them and giving her reasons. So let's get into why Ana Kasparian left the left, and let's see if these leftists push back on her.
Which people don't know this. We have very high sales taxes, very high income taxes, but like almost a medieval commercial tax property situation with Prop 13. Try to reform that, they call you a racist.
Yeah.
So it's like it's taking this language from the social justice left to the point where none of these words seem to mean anything. They're used by the oligarchs, by the people in power. And it took me. I have kind of had an incremental march here, from writing for the Nation, writing for kind of more institutional left-wing outlets to, I still have a lot of these values. I have a lot of these beliefs and concerns. But I feel I'm with you. The Unaligned is a great Substack name, by the way, because I feel unaligned. Could you talk a little bit about your journey? Like, what were there certain moments where you said, what's going on here?
So a lot of different things happened. And, I think there's this misconception that a few things happened to me personally, and that was all it took for me to, have a reactionary response. And that is not the case. Those personal things that happened to me forced me to come to terms with some very real flaws that I was seeing on the left. But honestly, I think that I was just trying to avoid it, pretending like these issues didn't exist. And then once those issues slap you in the face, you really have no choice but to come to terms with what's really going on. And so I'm just going to be 100% honest. I mean, I remember when the BLM protests began in 2020. Obviously, in the beginning, I was very supportive of those protests, but every night they would quickly devolve into riots. And I remember messaging with friends, even messaging with colleagues about being fearful because, where I live is close to, very close, like walking distance to, a main boulevard where a lot of the rioting took place. And on one hand, here I am in my personal life, seeing the injustice of all of these small, in my community, Latino owned businesses being completely crushed. They lose everything, right? And of course, there's this BS excuse of, oh, they have insurance, who cares, right? Yeah. But no, it's not that simple. Okay. But, watching my own community fall apart and then going on my show, and if I'm completely honest, like terrified of even bringing any of that up, because I understood the injustice and agreed that something needed to be done about the injustice toward George Floyd and individuals like him.
There was no injustice towards George Floyd and individuals like him. The guy was a criminal. And yeah, maybe he didn't deserve to die that day, but he died as a result of many choices he made. The cops did not kill him.
But I was also terrified that if I brought up things like riots, I would automatically be assumed to be some sort of hateful bigot or racist. And I'm just not. I just see the damage that's being done to my community and communities across the country as all of this is going on. So I dealt with that conflict for a little while, and I felt pretty disgusted with myself because I want to be honest with the audience, but there was also some self-preservation involved because I didn't want people to do to me what they're doing now, actually. And then finally, it just got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. Like I saw what was happening and I needed to be honest about it. Obviously things happened to me as well, but more importantly, there was a disconnect between progressive policymakers and legislators and what their constituents wanted, and they just ignored their own constituents. A perfect example is Representative Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. So her district demanded that they do not defund the police. Okay, the black community said, we don't want you to defund the police. There is a higher crime rate. We are worried about it. We do not want you to cut funding for police. The vast majority of them did not want that. Okay. Ilhan Omar went forward with advocating for defunding the police anyway. And I was just like, okay, well, who are we representing here? Are we actually representing marginalized communities, or are we just representing what our cause believes to be right, despite what those communities
Can I point
desire?
another example that's even closer to home for you?
Yeah, that's a very good point she makes, and Ana Kasparian has clearly come around in the last couple of years. I mean, I'm still withholding judgment on both Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, but they seem to be coming around Anna for much longer. And she's absolutely right. I mean, why do you even have to come around? It's obvious if you just look at what's going on. The and it's, you see a lot of this on social media. People like Ana Kasparian say during the BLM riots or something, posting, oh, they trashed my neighborhood or something like that. Some liberals moaning about something like that, and of course a lot of right wingers or conservatives will write back, well, you voted for this, you voted for this. But she is right. In fact, I don't think many people actually voted for that. These representatives of the people, these politicians, end up just doing whatever the hell they want. It's just like anything, especially at the federal level. With U.S. aid, what's going on right now with Elon Musk and Doge dismantling U.S. aid, the huge government program or agency, which spends literally billions of dollars every year. Yeah, I don't think any American actually voted for that. And I think it's a very good thing, even if, supposedly good programs are being dismantled. Americans should know what they are paying for with their tax dollars. And the vast majority of them see that there are problems in the United States that need addressing, and that therefore all resources should go to addressing problems at home and not addressing non-problems or problems, actual problems in other parts of the world. It's just not our problem. It is not our problem to solve, hunger in the third world, or, I mean, people will say, "Oh, that's cruel. We can solve it." No, we can't solve it. We haven't solved it. I saw some estimate where since the 1960s, somebody estimated that the West has spent something like $5 trillion in Africa on aid. And what is there to show for it? Nothing. They just need to be left alone to live the way they live without any interference. And no, I don't even believe in the concept of soft power. Don't even start with that. This soft power stuff is nonsense. Really? Do you think some traditional country in Asia or Africa or wherever in the second or third world is really crying out for more diversity programs or more LGBTQ acceptance programs? Or no, they don't care about that stuff. They don't want that stuff. They like the money. Who doesn't like money? I suppose, if some foreign government came to me and was offering me millions of dollars to set up a program, yeah, I would be tempted to take it. Oh, absolutely. Like the US did in Afghanistan for all those years. Set up all sorts of programs which are completely incompatible with their culture, with their traditions, with those people. And what happened when the U.S. did its sudden pullout after Joe Biden got elected? Well, within days, everything reverted back to normal, or normal for Afghanistan. And that was that, or within a few weeks or months. And yeah, you can decry the fact that women have very few rights in Afghanistan, hardly any now. But that's the way it is. What, are you some kind of white savior? You're going to go in and save them from themselves? Isn't that racist? You white savior liberals, isn't that racist to claim that their culture is not as good as yours? So it's just not our problem. We shouldn't be spending our money on it. There's so many things like that. I can hardly wait. I hope Doge continues along the course it's on. And of course, now we can see this at home too. So say we save all this money, we don't spend it abroad. Okay, well then what do we spend it on at home? Well, the liberals would have you spend it on DEI programs and trying to bring up the poor, oppressed minorities and all that. No, 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 no. All that hasn't worked. None of that has worked at home either. These programs started in the 60s, basically. What have they yielded? Nothing. They've just yielded more resentment. They've yielded super expensive, unaffordable college tuition fees, which in turn has resulted in the college loan industry, the predatory college loan industry. The whole thing is sick and needs to be dismantled. So, okay, it's great that Ana Kasparian, even now that she's supposedly come around and has left the left and is now unaligned, even now she's saying, of course, at the beginning of the BLM protests, I was all for them. Yeah, I mean, that's true, she's telling the truth, but anybody with a bit of critical thinking acumen could have seen through them immediately. I mean, as a personal anecdote, I remember that time. This is here in Belgium, right, where I live. One of my daughters, was going into Brussels, and I happened to be going that way, so I said I'd drop her off. I said, "Oh yeah, as we were in the car driving in, I said, so yeah, what are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I'm going to a BLM protest, or BLM, yeah, I guess march or something like that." And I just looked at her and I said, "BLM? Here in Belgium? What are you talking about?" But, as I've said on many other videos, it's completely impossible for me to talk with anyone in my family. My own children, my parents, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, my entire family are committed liberals and leftists, including my daughters. So I dropped the ball there, I will admit. But that's another story for another time. And all I could do, I mean, I didn't want to get into an argument with her about the nonsense of BLM. Clearly, she felt strongly about it. I just told her to stay near the edge of the protest, and if things, started popping off, to get the hell out. But the whole thing was just a scam. It was a scam. It was a scam based on a lie. That's all it was. And, looking back, how these people came in and look at themselves in the mirror, I don't know how they can do it. And the grift is still going, by the way. People still talk about BLM protests like it was something real, like it was actually reality, when it was completely and utterly manufactured and funded. So that's my take today on this podcast. It's nice of Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks to go on this apparently a very small podcast. They only have 180 subscribers. And this video has only got a couple hundred views that they've posted. But very cool of Ana Kasparian to give her time to these guys. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks again for all of you who subscribed. I'm past 6,000 subscribers now. Next goal, 10,000. So please help me get there. If you watch these videos and you like this content, please do subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.